Welcome to the B2B Word of Mouth Marketing Podcast. We're here to help you grow your business with the one form of marketing that really works.
I'm Bill Bice, and we're here because we believe inside every small business is a big business.
So Luke, we were talking about what was happening with the numbers, what we're seeing in the analytics.
Hey, Bill. Yeah, we've talked about it a few times that, marketing is working better than ever, easier to understand marketing now more than ever. But now what we're talking about today is we're really starting to see the hardcore data really back that up. And there was some preliminary data beforehand, but now since we can kind of see there was a hardcore lull, especially around mid to late March to mid to late April, was kind of, I'd say, the hardest hit economically and for a lot of our clients through this whole COVID-19 crisis. But now, since we're almost a month removed from that, for the late April to kind of late May sections, we're really starting to see analytics that show, things are actually, we might get that V-shape, the V-shaped recovery everyone keeps talking about. And because I have weekly meetings or bi-weekly meetings with many of my clients, we're all about the data here. I'm constantly looking at their data. And so I thought it'd be interesting to kind of discuss what we're seeing in the data. And then I pulled some data from around the internet talking about other companies and their research and what we're seeing from that.
Yeah, so it was really because early in the crisis, we were seeing a really market increase in engagement and the effectiveness of reaching out. But now we're seeing that transition into business.
Exactly. And so a lot of people moved to social media, and especially LinkedIn engagement was really far up. And I would say website and conversions were down a little bit. They certainly weren't trending like LinkedIn was. And so that was interesting. So people kind of went to LinkedIn and social media to maybe distract themselves or just see what other people were going. And a couple people would look at websites, but they definitely weren't, buying yet. They were almost like window shopping is kind of what it looked like to me in the data. But now what I've seen, if keeping in mind the time period that I just discussed, we've had for one of my clients a 37% increase in users, which is a pretty big number. That's 37% increase in users. That is quite dramatic in 1 month. In 1 month, a 37% increase in users, which is transferred into a 25% increase in goal completions, which are, you can set those up in Google Analytics if no one's heard of that before, those are huge numbers. I mean, along with the rest of this client's profile, I think they're very poised to get back to where they were before this crisis, and honestly even go further, because I think we were kind of finishing their project right as this all happened, and so it was a little unfortunate. But all the analytics we're seeing is they're right where they should be, regardless of the economic crisis, which is really interesting. A 37% increase in users. I don't usually see that month to month unless you start running Google ads or Facebook ads or something of that nature. Just organically, that's quite unheard of. And so I'd say that's almost like a rocket ship of people coming back to their site who need their services. They went a month without their services, but they provide a much needed service in the legal field. And so people are back on their website and they're really looking to start buying very soon.
Yeah, that is great to see. And it's, I'd say it's still early, but what we're seeing with before it was almost top of the funnel or right before that. Now we're starting to get deeper into that. We're seeing more signups. We're seeing people getting deeper into the sales process. We're seeing that turn into signups that just wasn't happening before. So all that positive activity is starting to turn into sales.
And this is the way it happens, right? I explain this a lot to clients, and especially people who maybe aren't as familiar or are willfully ignorant of how marketing works. They want to flip the switch and they want sales to just happen magically. But as you talk about a lot, and as we talk about a lot here, you have to build foundations. It's almost like a pyramid. You have to build a foundation, and then you build on that foundation, and then you kind of move up that way. Or like a building where the foundation, is your website, and then, the content, and then as you kind of get up, the engagement, this, that, the other, and then ads on top of it. We've talked about it a lot before, but this is what we want to see is engagement on places like social media, and then people start, because that's where the attention is, and then people start moving to the website, and then they start signing up, and then they start going deeper and then reaching out and then getting their 15-minute phone call, their free consultation or what have you, whatever your client's doing, or they sign up and then they get on a phone call with the CEO or the sales guys, and then they start buying. It's a process. It's a, I don't know what the kind of word I'm looking at, but that's the life cycle of sales really, and of marketing. And so to see it on social media and then move to the website, increase in users, increase in goal conversion, that's exactly what should happen. You can't just go from no one on your website to 100% increase in conversions or people buying your stuff. Unfortunately, it trickles down that way, and it is kind of slower than people want to see it. But that's why I kept saying marketing is more easier to understand now than ever, because we're literally seeing it, and you can go and you can do all the data yourself. I mean, you can't access this data, but you can Google and see, the LinkedIn engagement was up. And we're going to talk about here in a little bit that search for content it wasn't up, but it wasn't as down as much as other people thought it was. And I have another client here. They had a almost 22% increase in session duration, a almost 18% increase in goal completions, and a 13% increase in users over the same period. And so there we go again. That same kind of funnel, their LinkedIn engagement was really well. We didn't stop posting on there because, as we were saying before, you shouldn't stop marketing just because things are down. Like Henry Ford said, stopping your watch to save time that doesn't work, right? And so now we're starting to see that stuff back. And so I think it's interesting. If you stopped marketing, you're not going to have these numbers. And the reason we didn't stop marketing was because I knew these numbers were coming. And if you stop putting out content, and now you're hearing from me and you're like, oh, we need to get back marketing. No, you're a month away from getting numbers like this again, because now we're ahead of you a month, and you got to ramp back up. You got to call boom time, go through our intake process, have us write, a bunch of content for you and start marketing for you. Whereas for these clients, they said, we trust you, and we're just going to keep forging forward, and we know it'll come back.
And the sooner you start, the better prepared you're going to be for the recovery. And the stats that you're talking about, I mean, we spend a lot of time buried in the analytics, because we know that pushing engagement in the right direction results in an increase in sales. But you have to get through all of those steps. And so what happens when you're getting more people paying attention to your message for a longer time period, and getting deeper into your sales funnel, and agreeing to give you their email address so that you can keep talking to them, and then agreeing to that first introductory phone call. That's the sales funnel. That is what we're working on every single time. And this is, we know this from every recession that we've been in previously. But this is really fascinating that the data for a number of our clients has turned around this quickly.
Right. Yeah. And these are not all our clients, but these are the ones I work almost most closely with. So I feel more comfortable talking about them. And other data is showing this as well. I get this data from HubSpot, and they said that the amount of deals created in their platform last week was what does it say? Was the highest volume of deals created since the start of pandemic. So they're saying, oh, hey, people who use our software, stuff is also starting to come back. And what I find really interesting, and this isn't HubSpot, this is a different company, but they did research on SEO and search, and they saw that B2B brands published 50% fewer articles during this crisis, but search was only down 25%. And so what does that tell you? If there's 50%, back to Econ 101, if there's 50% less supply, but demand only went down 25%. Well, in a way, it's almost like there's 25% more demand for your content than there was before. And so this just, again, to show you that when we say, hey, you need to keep marketing, especially through this, when I was talking about your marketing dollars or your marketing content is actually going to go further right now, like the stock market. Now that the stock market went down, you buy because your dollar is almost worth more in a sense. That's what was happening with marketing. And this shows right here that that's exactly what was happening on search. So if you were putting articles out during this time, they were 25% more valuable for your brand. And that's why we're seeing bring it back around for full circle to the 37% increase in users for one of my clients and the 25% goal completions. This is, if I could package it all up, this is a really good meta case study, if you will, of exactly what we've been saying through this crisis and people who pulled back, why they shouldn't have done that. And I know sometimes when things like this are happening, I feel like maybe we all know now, right? Oh, when the stock market crashes, don't sell your stuff. Now that, it's been 10 years and now we have social media and everyone's seen Warren Buffett on YouTube. Okay, but now we need to realize to do that same thing for marketing and say, oh, if people are being fearful and pulling back their marketing, I need to ramp it up. I need to post more on social media. I need to post more on my blog because I know it's going to come back. And that's just gives me a little bit more ground on my competitors in the market.
Well, it absolutely does. And if you did pull back, then the answer to that is get going.
Yep. Yeah. Give us a call and I'll meet with you and we can get going. It's not too late, right? Because obviously we're not out of this crisis yet. And there's still a lot, I don't mean to make light of it. Like there's still a lot of businesses that are hurting, but now that things are starting to open back up, our governor just, opened up restaurants a little bit. We can sit outside now, which is all I want to do anyways. I don't really like sitting outside or sitting inside. And so now it's kind of when you want to jump on it. You might have missed you might not have known anyone at Facebook, so you couldn't invest. But now this is like, B round or C round in funding. You're getting a little glimpse. Oh, things are starting to come back. Jump on your marketing. The best way to start doing that is, of course, make sure your website is good to go. And then start making content, start putting it on LinkedIn, start putting it on your blog, build an email list, put an email capture on your website, create an email automation. Like we've talked about, create an engage series or a drip series, look at our past episodes. And we kind of explain how to do everything that would have led up to this moment during this opening back up. And hopefully we'll have an update here in a couple of weeks of, and now look, we've, increased sales or increased conversion rates, X amount from the rest of this increase, which will probably be supported by data from HubSpot and other big names in the industry who keep track of this type.
I was talking to Ken, our CRO yesterday, and it's really interesting because people that he reached out to, and I've seen exactly the same thing, and it's why I brought it to mind, that I reached out to a year ago on LinkedIn have suddenly popped up and responded, and it just shows that the entire market is moving to LinkedIn. People who weren't really, might have had a profile but weren't paying attention are now online. They're there. They're waiting for you to reach out and connect with them, and you just don't have any choice. You have to do it.
I really enjoy LinkedIn. I've had a profile for years, maybe 5 years or something, but it's only in the last year or two where I'm like, oh, it's actually kind of fun to check my LinkedIn every day. Like I don't check almost any other social media, especially Facebook. Facebook's in trouble, and Instagram's okay, but LinkedIn is, especially if you're in B2B. I mean, that's where your people are. They built it for marketers and they built it for B2B business people. That's who they built it for. And so if you're not on there, you're not, and they make it really interesting. You can do posts, but you can also do articles, but you can also do, posts like PDFs like you do quite often, and which seems to be getting even more engagement. So we're always kind of experimenting here, and then you drive them back, just like we say, and we drive and obviously make connections with people you want to talk to, and then drive them back to your website, get their email. And then, like you said, it's a long game, but you've made that connection. And then a year later, they're reaching out. And so it's really hard to do that almost with anything else right now. And that's a perfect example of exactly what we're talking about.
I love it just because it's a much more efficient way to develop exactly the right connection. So bottom line is you just have to get out there and do it. Luke, thanks as always.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the B2B Word of Mouth Marketing Podcast. Join us each Monday for new episodes and visit boomtime.com to listen to prior episodes and check out episode notes. Have a marketing question you want answered? Email us at podcast@boomtime.com or tweet us at boomtime_online, and we'll answer your questions on air.